Alright, we are in part 2 of our special right triangles. So, again, there you got your formula chart again. So, pay attention, you're going to have 4 more questions, numbers 5 through 8. So, write them down when we get to that point. So now, if you know the measure of one side, you want to find the other, where you're going to use these ratios to do that. The easiest is to start with the short leg, the side that has x. To get from x to a 2x, you are going to double, multiply by 2. So hopefully this color helps you to kind of make that burn into your memory. Whatever that measure is for the small side, multiply times 2, you get twice that. So let's do some examples together. This is to show you we are starting with the small side on each. 13 times 2 is 26. 25 radical 3. Well, the 2 is going to be multiplied by the 25. By sitting it next to radical 3 is multiplying it. You're not going to multiply numbers underneath here unless you have another radical to multiply by. So 25 radical 3 is 50 radical 3. And 53 radical 2 is 106 radical 2. You're doubling that number that's outside. Now your turn. You can pause the video, take a couple seconds. It shouldn't take you more than probably 30 seconds for this first round. Now see if you got the answers right. Pause to double check to make sure you got them. If you didn't and you still have more questions, I'll see you in Zoom. Now, again, starting at that short leg is the easiest. Start at x. Now we want to go to x radical 3. How do you go from an x to an x radical 3? Well, this sitting next to the radical means you're multiplying, so you're going to multiply times radical 3. Pretty straightforward. So let's do some examples. 14 times radical 3. 14 radical 3. 3 radical 2 times radical 3. Well, now you've got 2 radicals multiplying. You're going to multiply those numbers underneath. So the 2 and the 3 are under the radicals. So you got 2 times 3 under 6. Doesn't have any square factors. You're done. 17 radical 3. Well, now you have a radical times itself. And we learned last week that when you have the same radical multiplied, you pull that number outside of the radical because it was a square number. And we got 51 here. So now, oops, sorry, gave you the answers. Those were our samples. Now, pause and try. Hopefully you didn't see the answers. Pause this for a second, see if you get the answers. Double check. If you got any questions, Zoom. Okay, hypotenuse to the short leg. Another one that's pretty straightforward. To go from a 2x to an x, it's like 2 of something to 1 of something, cut it in half. So you are dividing by 2. Okay, moving forward. I have a whole number here that's easy. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Here, I don't have a whole number. This is actually going to be a decimal, but in front of that radical, I've got an even number. That's easy. Cut it in half. You got 38 radical 5. But over here, when I have an odd number, I'm either going to leave it as a fraction or I'm going to have a decimal. So 27 divided by 2 is 27 over 2. I'm sorry, 27 divided by 2 is 27 over 2 or 13.5. Your turn. Pause the video. Now, see if you got the answers. Remember, this radical 2 and the 2 are not going to reduce. Only the number outside, that coefficient. All right, so for part 2, to go from the short leg, the red, of a 30, 60, 90 triangle to the hypotenuse, the blue, you're going to multiply by a number. But to go back from that hypotenuse to the short leg, you're going to divide by a number. What would that number be? It'd be 2. To go from the short leg, red, to the long leg, which I should have made green, darn it. And then to go back from that, you're going to either multiply or divide by a number. I multiply to go to this, and I divide to come back. It's going to be the square root of what number? The square root of 3. So just type 3 in your answer. Now, the hypotenuse, if you have that and you want to go to the long leg, a lot of times it's easier to go to the short leg and then to the long leg. So to go to the short leg, you're going to divide by a number. What's that number? We just said 2 earlier. And then to go from that short leg to the long leg, you then multiply by a number, and it's the square root of what? 3. Just type the 3. Don't put the radical symbol. All right, click those answers in All in Learning. And that is the end of video 2.